they're mad and they're arguing and she's angry and now she's really upset with him. Would it be totally inappropriate for them to have angry sex? Like,
It's a good point. I was just going to have her leave, but that's not the right move that at all. Like, yeah, they should have angry sex. She should stand her ground and be like, this is wrong, and he's going to be like, again, you don't know. And like,
you don't know how bad I am. You don't know how bad I am. And then I'm going to show you. And then like they have really angry, rough sex, which of course she secretly loves.
Welcome to the story. It's story time with Skye. You can fall in love and laugh until you cry. It's story time with Skye. It's story time with Skye.
Welcome to Storytime with Skye. I'm your host, New York Times bestselling author Skye Warren. Every week, I tell a brand new story based on the heroes, heroines, and meet-cutes that you want to hear about. I bring on some of my favorite romance authors as guests to help me craft a hilarious, steamy, and ultimately romantic story with a guaranteed happily ever after. So pour a glass of something fun. Welcome to the story.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Storytime with Skye. I am your host, Skye Warren, and I am here with my author buddy, Measha Stone, who is a USA Today bestselling romance author with a deep love for romantic stories, specifically those involving the darker side of romance. Hi, Measha.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I was just telling her that I was spotting some really fun book art behind her, and she has a painting on her wall with books and also one of those, like, what would you call it? Diagonal bookshelves?
Yes. Yeah, it's like zigzag almost.
Zigzag book. Yes. That's very cool. I enjoy that. So
that is my to be read pile.
Is it?
The paperback version. The ebook version is much, much larger, but that's...
Yes. I mean, there's a good amount of books on there, but I thought you would have done it the other way. Like, those are the books that you have read and are your favorites, Oh,
no, those get moved to another bookshelf somewhere else.
Different shelf. Yes. Okay, so yeah, you like darker romance. I like darker romance. What do you like about it?
I love a hero that is a complete jerk to everyone except the woman he wants to be with. Although I do really like it when he's a jerk to her first.
Right.
And he stops being a jerk to her when he realizes that,
for like heart reasons.
Yeah. 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 But I love it when he's just a complete asshole. That's my favorite thing. And I feel like you can't do that in a sweet romance.
It's a little tricky. I'm not that clear. Though I have gotten to do some sweeter romances on the podcast. That's been fun, actually. Mm-hmm. Just because I get to see where someone else would take it, because I usually default to like, well, and then he does something terrible.
Right. Yeah. Then he just ends up throwing her in the trunk of a car. Like, that's where I'm like, they're not going to the diner for donuts in the morning.
So we have a setup. We have a setup of a hero, a heroine, and a meet cute. Okay. Those are kind of like the choose your own adventure, where those have been chosen by readers for us. And we have a lot of flexibility after that. But I'm going to tell you each part, and you can kind of give me your initial thoughts. Like, have you written one before? How do you feel about doing that now? So, okay. The hero, the only thing we know about him is he's a single father.
Okay.
Which I feel like single parents are really hot right now. Which, even though that's not like, I would say like my personal favorite trope, I do enjoy it because I feel like there was a time in romance when people were very like, I don't want them to have an ex. I don't want them to ever have had sex before. And I was like, that's a little too much, like, for me. Mm-hmm. So at least this, we acknowledge they have a past.
Right.
So he's a single father. Have you ever written a single dad hero?
No, and it's really, yesterday I was just talking to my daughter. We were at Barnes & Noble shopping in the romance section, and she was looking for a specific kind of romances, and I was looking for mine. And we actually started talking about the single father romance. So I was explaining it to her, and it's really one of my least favorite.
Oh my God.
If I'm going to be honest. Okay. I mean, I read them. I do enjoy them when I read them. It's not like I hate them. It's just, I've never written one because, like, I don't know So this will be interesting because I'm not sure how to deal with having a kid involved. So this will be interesting.
It's tough. Like I've done a few, but I have to approach them like with care because yeah, you have, I mean, but honestly, like I'm like that with pets too. Like I love pets. I have pets
Mhm.
all the time in my house, but in books, it's so hard to have a pet because I gotta keep track of them all the time.
Right. Yes. Where are they? What are they doing? Has anyone fed them
know.
today?
I know. Can they be focused on their romance? Do they have to do something for them? Okay. So anyway, we've got a single dad.
Okay.
We've got a socialite. That's the heroine.
A socialite. Okay.
Okay. And it's opposites attract
Okay.
and they meet online.
Like a dating site?
It could be anywhere.
Anything. Okay. And we don't know what the opposites are. We get to make that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This is doable. Okay.
Okay. So I feel like, so my first thought is, I mean, I feel like there's kind of a default story here. Like like, I could see this in a blurb and kind of like know what kind of book I'm getting.
Mhm.
I also feel like there is a twist that we could do like a little bit darker if we wanted to, since we both like that.
Right.
I'm open to that. I'm open to going either direction.
Well, I always like the dark twist. So that's
Yeah.
where I'm probably most comfortable.
Okay. So I have this, you know what popped into my head when I thought of like dark single dad is like this historical romance. Did you ever read historical romance?
It's been a while, but I actually started romance and historical. Yeah. Well,
Me
with
too.
romance, yeah.
And I get so many ideas from historicals of things that's often where I'll get an idea and I'll put it in a contemporary and they're like, it's just wild because with historical, they'll be like, this is just a regular historical romance. And then you do the same thing in a contemporary and they're like, this is super dark.
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
The bar to be called a dark historical romance is very high, you know? You have
Yes.
to
Yeah.
go pretty wild. Anyway, it made me think of this one book. I'm not going to think of the title right now, but I'll eventually think of it and I'll put it in the show notes. But it's by Elizabeth Hoyt. And it's with this guy who's like a head bad guy. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
he
Yeah.
just sort of is like runs sort of like this underworld. And he's taken an interest in this woman who is a little bit goody two shoes kind of vibe. Like it's not really in a negative way, but like he talks about her like that, you know?
Yeah.
And she at one point has to go to him for help. And so she gets on his radar and he ends up with someone sort of like, basically he gets someone pregnant and there's this baby and the woman doesn't want the baby. And he is not at all fit to raise a baby. Like he's literally running this underworld. He's like, the baby has no place here. So he sends the baby to her.
Okay.
And so this baby, it just appears on her doorstep. Now, this is a historical. You're allowed to do that with babies.
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel like a little bit less allowed to do that with babies here, but I just sort of wonder if it could be something where she gets roped into doing this thing and he is trying to do the right thing by sending this kid away, you know?
Okay.
The darker hero realizes the child.
Do like a nanny situation where he ropes her into being a nanny, or
He could definitely rope her into being a nanny.
because if they meet they're going to meet online. Like, how would he just hand off a kid to her?
Okay, I have a couple of things. Like, one is I like to do what I want in stories. So I would just be like if we really wanted to do this story wise, I'd be like, he just paid a judge. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and frankly, there are worse things that judges could do than like give a child custody to this rich lady.
Goes up she's just like, the judge is like, this, you've been awarded guardianship over this baby for whatever reason you come up with.
Yeah, like what if, okay, maybe we need to back up. How did they meet online? Was it dating or was it something else?
Well, maybe he's not a guy that dates online, right? If he's a guy who would give a baby away, I don't think he's looking for dating.
Exactly.
So maybe he comes across her doing something that...
Right. One of them is doing something active online and they notice each other.
And she's a socialite. Can she be a socialite like blogger who's just full of judgmentalness and she's touched on something that either he or his family or company is doing.
Yes. Like what if, she's a socialite, like TikToker / YouTuber,
An influencer,
super popular, does social commentary,
yeah,
and often really light, but it touches on a person or a situation that probably that means something to her personally.
yes,
Like
because
that's why she's
doesn't want
willing
to let it go either. Like whatever it is, she has.
She won't want to let it go. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not going to just be like stop talking about that, and she'd be like, "Oh, okay." No, it's got to be something that she's
right. So I guess the question is, what does he even do?
Something that borders the legal line, like something that straddles it. We're like, I always default to mafia, but I've been doing so many mafia lately that I think that's just where my brain just ultimately goes. But I think he could be doing something not so much in politics, but like he deals with politicians. So he needs to be in the darkness of it.
Yeah. What if he's like a fixer?
Yes.
Like a less righteous, like Olivia Pope. Like he does that for the dark side.
Yes. Okay. So so he's a fixer and he's going to have to fix her.
So maybe he's fixed something for this bad like senator guy who was dating this like teenage call girl kind of situation. And maybe she has strong feelings about that because of something in her past. So she calls them all out on this situation. And maybe even like has the girl on her show or something like that, just really stepping into it. And he's like, we're just going to send a little non-legal cease and desist.
Right. And she doesn't care. She'll ignore it.
Exactly.
So he's got to find a way to like muck up her life. And then when he gets his baby dumped on him, he's like, well, she'll be too busy playing mommy to continue on.
Yeah, maybe her thing is like a little bit like pro-family. You know what I mean? Like it's just something about protecting families. Actually, I just was thinking in the historical, the woman her family owned an orphanage. So there's like but she kept that child. She didn't put that child in the orphanage.
What if she does a lot of work with not so much that she fosters children, but she does a lot of work within the fostering system, working with kids for maybe a reading program or something where she dedicates her time to helping them. So that she's very receptive to helping a child in need.
Yes. So she does this activism, gets on his radar. They probably should I feel like spar before the child thing happens. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So he tried sending maybe just like a letter or one of his guys. Like this starts off as a low level problem, but then it gets bumped up to him and he goes to her and handles it. He's probably going to be like judgmental of her socialite status. Like you have no idea what it takes to like be self-made, and she's going to be dismissive of him. Like you're helping people like that. And he's like, you don't know what it takes to start with nothing.
Right. But she does know what it takes because I have a feeling that she has something in her past. Like she's lost a friend within the foster care system who maybe she got pulled out in the similar way that this politician has done with this girl.
Yep.
And
I think it's interesting. I read a quote once, and I'm definitely not going to remember the book it was in, but it really stuck with me. And I think it's true, which is that even though kids in poorer families, like who are getting abused, can definitely fall through the cracks. I mean, that happens, but in a way it also happens just as much in wealthy families because there's money to like hide behind, right, and to cover things up if needed, but also just to hide behind. Like you just don't, if you are of wealth where you have staff and you have your private jets or whatever, there's no one even to notice. Everyone who's around you works for you,
Right.
I mean, I think that could work. Like she could be in a situation where her parents were on some level abusive, whether it was physical or emotional or whatever, just a bad, maybe even something as simple as neglect, like just,
Yeah, they just
we
weren't
jetted
present.
off to Paris for like a month.
Yeah, they just weren't present.
Yeah. And so she either got pulled into foster care, probably at one point did maybe, but then they covered it up. They got her back out. It was fine on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it could also be that she doesn't take their money. So he shows up expecting this super fancy penthouse and sees like a very regular place.
Right. She has all the connections because she's grown up with these other people. So she's still a socialite in the aspect that she gets invited to things, but she's doing things on her own. So she doesn't have the money behind her anymore.
Yeah. And also, but if you think of like just like a Paris Hilton or whatever, you're always going to have the name. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to associate you with that past. They're not going to know what your income level is exactly,
right.
Or where the money is coming from. So it could be that she takes like her work as social commentary, like that's her job, like it's an actual sort of influencer type or news story type of job where she has sponsors and they are what pay her bills.
Yes.
So he's making assumptions like you're just dabbling, you're just playing around because you're bored.
Yes, I like that she's bored and he thinks this is just a game to her. This is just something to keep her interested in whatever, to pass the time.
Yeah.
When it's yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. So he finds her online because he comes across the stuff she's doing about maybe talking about rumors of the politician or whoever that he's been doing things he shouldn't be doing with girls of underage or whatever the case is. And then he goes and he tells her, knock it off. She's like, no. And then, okay.
I think what he would do is he would be moved enough by her to not want to actually hurt her or threaten her in a real way.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd work around her, because there's always like multiple paths to fixing something. And normally he'd just blast right through someone like her. But because he's moved by her, he sort of says, all right. And he backs off and he doesn't maybe try to have sex with her, doesn't come on to her, like, because because part of him knows what he's doing is wrong, even though he's going to defend it.
Right.
And sort of mock her for not knowing what it takes or whatever. He does see himself as a bad guy.
Okay. So kind of like he's projecting onto her.
He's covering it up, I feel like.
Yeah. Okay.
Like he doth protest way too much,
Yeah. Does he start off with a baby? Like, should we have him?
No, because, well, two things. So I like that if he's a fixer, he definitely has access to like politicians, judges, whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's done favors. Yeah. He can call in favors. That's his world.
Mm-hmm.
I also am sort of curious about making this. What if it's not a baby? What if it's a slightly older child who was given up by the mom and put into the system, or lost by the mom and put into the system? Either way, the child's been in the system and he discovers this. He didn't know it before. And so I have this idea of like, she's done advocacy, she's done work, like celebrities will use their name and pair with organizations that do that kind of work. And what if she gets a call and it's like, hey, we have this program and this child really needs a foster right now. And I know that isn't what you normally do, but would you be willing to do it right now? And she's like, in a way, she has a lot of feelings about it because of the way she was raised, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you're given a direct ask, I don't know if she can say no,
I don't think she can.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like an emergency situation where there's nowhere else for this person to go tonight and the child needs to be placed somewhere.
And so she is going to, like, he pulled those strings. That's the thing. She doesn't know.
Right. Yeah.
He pulled the strings to get the child out of whatever, mediocre situation they were in. And instead of having the child come live with him in his like den of iniquity,
Right.
I'm imagining, he sends the child to be with her. And I think at first you would have this moment when, you know, when you meet the child, like the child is going to be, it's not going to be easy, right? Like that's the one thing we know about having a foster child. Like it's not going to be this like immediate magic rainbow situation, because any child who's been in that is going to have some distrust and some PTSD and a lot of other things going on. So they're going to be either standoffish or angry, and she's going to have to deal with that.
How old do we want the kid to be? Because it depends. That'll depend on how they respond. Like if it's a younger, like say like toddler, like maybe like from like 5 to 8 years old, they'd probably be really quiet and more reserved.
Like 5 to 8, because also she doesn't actually have any baby experience. So like with a certain age, you need to know how to do things.
Right. And a baby will honestly get in our way a lot if we're trying to like, you know,
So she's got an extra room. The child goes into the room. She's kind of standoffish, and maybe they kind of have a breakthrough. You know what I like? Ooh, what if after the initial encounter, they have texted each other? Like, what if a few days after that first encounter, she just gets a text and she's like, who is this? And it's him. But he's sort of like making conversation. He's not saying like, I'm going to come. He's not threatening her. He's just sort of referencing something that maybe she made a comment about how like he made a comment about, well, what does your rich boyfriend think? And she's like, I'm not dating anyone. And he's like, why, in text or something.
Right.
Just a little flirty.
Yes. So, okay, yeah, because they have to kind of connect a little bit besides.
And that opens up the door so that when this happens and she has the first, let's say, rough night of like, you know, oh gosh, this child isn't opening up to me. What should I do? She can say it to him. Like it can be almost maybe the first time she reaches out to him.
Having a rough night. Yeah.
Something weird happened and he'll be like, what? As if he doesn't know.
Right. Yeah. Like, oh, tell me. No, I like that. And then she doesn't have to like not complain. Like I can't see her really complaining, but just like I'm not really sure what to do. This kid
She's gonna
is
worry, right? Like anyone would worry
like,
when they're responsible.
What if I make the situation worse? Like maybe not, you know, I've never done this before. And then maybe he gives her a little boost of confidence in it.
He totally would. Like she would be like, why would someone trust me with this? I'm just so-and-so socialite. And he's gonna be actually, you're one of the most caring people I've ever met. Like, actually, I would trust you. But like the irony is, of course, he did trust her.
Trust her. Yeah, because he did it. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay. And she's like, oh, sweet. My bad guy can be sweet, but obviously he's unrelated to this child thing. And so, okay.
So does he want to be somewhat involved? Like maybe he inserts himself into the situation then? Or does he want to just focus on her?
He probably will, right? Like, oh, well, so I did think they could have a little moment, like a breakthrough moment where the heroine kind of opens up about her own experiences, because the child can be like, oh, why would I trust you? I don't know you. You don't know anything about what I'm going through.
Right.
And she can be like, not really, but I have my own experience, and share it with her. And that vulnerability can create like a little more trust.
Right. Yeah. No, yes, that would definitely. So then the kid stops giving so much angst or relaxes enough around her to maybe ease up the tension.
Maybe she takes her shopping. So like a lot of foster kids don't actually have enough like clothes, backpacks, things like that.
Right.
So I think it would be natural for her to be like, that's all you brought? Like, let's go shopping.
Yeah.
And it'll be like a fun little bonding thing too. But then when they sit down at a cafe to take a break, surprise, surprise, who's there? As if he was maybe stalking them.
Yes. Yes, I like stalking. Stalking is one of my favorite things. So,
Yeah. So,
yes.
you know how at first you're like, that's just a coincidence, you know?
Yeah. We just bumped into each other. There's nothing to worry about here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I think I want him to like secretly pay for stuff because
Mm.
it's his kid, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He should try to pay for stuff. I wonder if either it comes with the kid, like they say, oh, we have this special grant program that will be paying for her. Or what if she gets a secret sponsorship on her work thing, you know?
Yes. And then he's the secret sponsor.
He's the secret
Absolutely.
sponsor.
Of
Yeah.
course he is. Yeah. 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 I like that. And then how attached does he want to be though with the kid?
I think that meeting at the coffee shop could be interesting. Like, I think he's told himself he'll have no contact. He's kind of like, why would I? Like, she will be better off without me. I'm not someone who's going to make her life better. Like, the only thing I have to contribute is money, and I'm doing that. And I found this place for her, you know, so that's all I can do. I think he's told himself he's not going to see her, interact with her ever, but he sort of can't help himself.
Right. And I think when he sees them together and he sees how good she is with the child, it puts different ideas in his head.
Right. It's like this, it's a family. That's what it is.
Right. And has he ever had a family before? I think maybe not.
No, he's not had a family.
So like this is his chance. So yeah.
And to even, like you said, visualize it. Like maybe it wasn't even something he could have dreamt of because it was so unreal. Like it just wasn't a part of how he grew up.
Go off his radar. Never going to be something he even thinks about having. Exactly. And now right in front of him. And it already did happen. That is his child. He already has. He just has to get in there. But of course, he'll fight that on himself because he can't make it easy.
Of course. So he's going to still be thinking, I shouldn't do this. He's going to be thinking, well, if I was going to go down the family path, I shouldn't have done all this, you know, very questionable, dark stuff. So now it's ruined. Now I'm like going to make them worse.
Right. And that's his lie, right? That's his lie he tells himself is he's too damaged to have that.
So yeah, I think he would make a little conversation with her, be like, oh, fancy meeting you here. And then he would like crouch down and like say hello to her. And she would be shy because, you know, it's just like a random dude.
Yeah.
I wonder if it can't be like too much, but I think the heroine should like notice, hey, they have the same like green eyes. Like, you know?
Right. Or like, yes, like the same shade, or maybe they both have a freckle on their iris or something. Like,
yeah, they have something.
Yes,
and she's going to be like, that's a coincidence. She's not going to figure it out right then.
Right. Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a stretch. You don't just see two people who look, well, some people do. Like, I'm never one of those people who couldn't notice a celebrity in real life because I'd be like, that person looks vaguely like Whoopi Goldberg. I would never think it's actually Whoopi Goldberg.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. And then you find out later on that she'd walked right past her. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, she's going to see this and it's going to be something worth noting. It's not just going to be like, oh, they both have brown hair. It's going to be a specific detail, but it's still going to be too much of a stretch to be like, they must be related.
Yeah.
So they're going to split
in there so that later on it kind of comes back.
Later it'll come up.
Mm-hmm. So
they're going to go. I think the little girl will like ask her, who is that man? Because like, it'll be clear that they know each other.
Right. Yeah.
She'll be like, he's uncategorizable, right? Like, that's not necessarily what she says.
He's just the guy. He's
yeah.
Don't worry about him. Because she also still thinks he's dangerous, right? I mean, he's a fixer. Like he's not, she still doesn't know that he's not, well, he's not a good guy, but he's
not a good guy.
To them, he'll be good, but he's not a good guy. But
yeah. And I like him specifically sort of living in a place or a dark area or something like that, where it's just like, because I feel like you can be a fixer and have like a nice apartment, but that's not what he has. He's got like, I don't know, lives with
a bare minimum.
No, I was thinking more like lives in like a party mansion or something.
A party mansion?
Not like as a frat boy, but just like these are the people that I deal with.
So like in one house, like a bunch of fixers live in the same house?
No, it's not going to be a bunch of fixers. He's the fixer. Maybe he has siblings.
But we don't want him to have a family.
Oh yeah, we don't want him to have a family. Poor guy.
We got to take that away. No, he can't have family.
Okay, yeah, maybe
the
it
other
is
guys he
doing
works
that.
with, other associates or whatever.
Or what if it's he literally lives out of a suitcase? Like he just has permanent rooms at a hotel. And then he travels a lot for work, so he is always in hotels. So technically he has a place, but no one would consider it like a real place that a kid would live.
That reminds me of is that Heat, that movie Heat, where he's like, I never have anything that I'm not willing to leave behind in a moment's notice, that kind of
Mm, yeah,
situation.
yeah. I didn't see that, but um,
I think that's the bad guy in that movie. But yeah, like he had like a nice apartment and everything, but nothing that he's attached to. He's not attached to anything. He can
exactly,
live behind.
exactly.
Yeah.
And well, I feel like politicians are traveling a lot. So it makes sense that if politicians are traveling, then in order to fix things, he has to travel.
Right. Yeah, he does. Yeah. So he could be living out of a suitcase and just not
Yeah.
have very much and just
Yeah. And that also makes sense why like he has money, but
right. Not
it's
spending
being
it.
spent in this way that's not actually conducive to having a child.
Right. Right.
So then I think he needs to meet them again. This time it will become clear that he must be stalking because it would not happen accidentally again.
Right.
So where would it be?
My first thought was like they were coming out of a doctor's office, like she took the girl for a checkup or
Yeah.
something.
And what if he's been keeping tabs on them, obviously. And what if he's like, he just wants to make sure she's okay?
Right. Yeah, like why is she at the doctor's? Something wrong?
Oh, he can like show up and say that exact thing. Why was she at the doctor's? Is she sick?
Right.
And first, she might just give an actual answer, which is like, no, children just go to the doctor like for checkups. Normally, that's just how it works.
Right.
And then she'll think about it and be like, well, why are you here? Did you?
Yeah. How do you even know? Yeah.
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 And then she'll be like freaked out because like now she's in danger and maybe this child is in danger. Like she doesn't know. Like she's come to trust him via their text. Like she likes him, but she doesn't think she should like him.
Right. He's doing the opposite of what she does. So she doesn't want to be with somebody who is bent on hiding bad things when she spends her life trying to fix bad things or trying to make bad things good.
I kind of like that as a title too, like exposure. Something about that. Exposed. Okay, so she's coming out of the doctor. They have their encounter. She leaves feeling rattled. Something's going on here.
Right.
What does she do? Who does she turn to? Does she have like a friend? Maybe. What if she's been doing a little digging out of curiosity for this new sponsor?
Right, because the sponsor is so generous. Who is it?
And like they're going to have to ask for something. I think it's not like she's running a charity, you know, like they're sponsoring to get a post or something like that. That's how people normally do. But he either doesn't or he makes the post something like dumb and not real, you know, like or like it's fake, but like she can tell it's fake, you know. And she starts researching like who is this guy, and then maybe separately she also confronts her friend who works in that advocacy group, and she admits like, yeah, we got paid to do this.
So then she finds out that it's him.
I think she puts it together like at the same time. And it's almost like
I kind of want her to go like marching to his apartment and
want him
down
to
the door.
confront him. Absolutely. The other good thing about her confronting him is that means she'll get a babysitter.
Right. So then now we get them alone finally.
Now we get them alone.
Yes.
We get them alone. And she's going to just like march up to his like hotel rooms, his like penthouse hotel room.
Right.
And confront him and be like, did you do this? Why would you do this? And he's going to say all this stuff. First, you know, he might give her a hard time, but then he's going to admit it. Like, because what do you think she should live here? You know,
right. With a guy like me, or
yeah, with someone like me, with crooked senators coming into my place, with me needing to jet off at any notice. You know what I mean? I live out of a suitcase. This is the suitcase I live out of.
Right. So he confesses, then they get into an argument. And
she's going to say, then change, you know?
Right.
Like,
then make this something that a child can fit into or is safe with.
And he's going to say no because he thinks he's ruined. You know what I mean? He thinks he's already
too far gone. Can't be fixed.
Exactly.
He's
But
the
when he
fixer can't be fixed.
But when he does that, she's going to flash back to her own parents being too rich and busy to care for her. And she's going to be like, oh my God, he's like the worst. He's just like my parents, you know?
He's doing the same thing that my parents did.
Yeah.
Can't be bothered. See, this is where it gets like they're mad and they're arguing and she's angry and now she's really upset with him. Would it be totally inappropriate for them to have angry sex? Like,
You know, it's a good point. I was just going to have her leave, but that's not the right move that at all. Like, yeah, they should have angry sex. She should stand her ground and be like, this is wrong, you know? And he's going to be like, again, you don't know. Like,
you don't know how bad I am. You don't know how bad I am. And then I'm going to show you. And then like they have really angry, rough sex, which of course she secretly loves. And
she secretly loves, of course.
Like, everyone's in on it. Loving, like, yeah, everyone's happy. And then afterwards, he's going to like kick her out.
Yeah.
Like, see, now just go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I love that. He's like, you don't think I'm a bad guy? Watch this. And then a sex montage of like 8 hours.
Which only makes her kind of want him more.
Right.
Because even during the roughness of it, she's going to see his soft edges somewhere.
Exactly.
Like, you know, she'll see that. Like, he could be rougher or he's not going any rougher than I want. He seems to know where my limit is.
Exactly. And you just know, the difference between like caring rough sex and like uncaring rough sex. And she's going to clearly see.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like shining a light to the heart of him. You know what I mean? Like the care that he takes of her.
Mm-hmm.
Because in a way you have to actually be, I feel like, more careful with someone if you're being rough, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And then I kind of like the idea of afterwards, so he kicks her out, but then like I want him to show up at her apartment like the next night, just grumpy about the whole thing and like insisting he takes them out to dinner. But he's pissed off that he has to do that. He's doing this. Like, he doesn't want to, but he's going to do it. He's going to take them out.
It. And I like her saying like, no. And then the little girl being like, oh, come on, I want to. Like, he makes it sound good. And she's like, I want to. And part of her still wants to say no. But then she's like, but it is her father. You know what I mean? Like, how can I say no to her meeting him? And maybe part of her still thinks like that they're supposed to be together, you know, like that he's supposed to claim custody of her. So she's like, maybe ultimately this dinner will be helpful in him seeing that. But
she's convincing herself that it's just about the kid and him.
Yes.
And not her. She's just there because she's the guardian. She's not.
Exactly. She's not thinking any kind of like date scenario. This is like a guilt dinner that might be turned into something useful if they get to know each other.
Oh, and I just had, oh gosh, this is bad. Okay. So they go to dinner and they start to like kind of, you know, it's a good dinner. He starts to feel a little more comfortable in the kid and all that and wonderful. Then they go back to the apartment. He brings them home and it's late. So the kid goes to bed and then he stays, they're talking. And then he's like, okay. And now he wants to put her to bed. But you know, she's got to be super quiet because there's like a 7-year-old in the next room. So like maybe he goes down on her and makes her be quiet and she better not make a sound, you know, but then he makes up sounds because, you know, it's amazing what he's doing. And yeah, something along those lines where dirty things happen in the dark and quiet.
I love it. So,
which is a direct contrast to the roughness of the night before.
And they're both him, though. They're both sides of him.
Or maybe he shoves her panties in her mouth to keep her quiet.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
A little roughness to go with the sweetness, you know.
Yes. Okay. So here's the next thing that I think should happen. I'm trying to think of how I want it to happen, but I basically think that something from his job should come and bite him right now while the heroine and the daughter are around. Like maybe not something as intense as an attack, but like maybe someone went through their car or something like that. And he knows that they're searching for something that they think he has. It doesn't matter whether he has it or not. The whole point is he's poisoning them by being near them and putting them in danger.
I like that because it also reinforces his own lie that he's dangerous to them.
Yeah.
And that he can't make this work.
I wonder if it's like related to whatever the scandal was that he first got connected with her about.
I was just thinking that, like, so in the first scandal, he's just covering up the politicians, like he dated a 17-year-old or has spent the night with a 17-year-old. So nothing to like, I mean, that's still not good, but I mean, not.
We could change it if we needed to be more relevant, but that's kind of like what we said. So in that scenario, maybe they're looking for like some kind of tape evidence that they believe he has.
Oh, that would prove that this person did whatever he was supposed to be covering up, which would make sense that he would have. I mean, even if he doesn't, it makes sense that they would think he'd have it.
Yeah.
So they do, yeah. And then they see him with her and this kid. So they mess up her car. They go through her car, like, or he's.
What if they just even search his car, but like while he's parked there, it just like means he's brought evil to her, you know?
Yes. Oh, yes. I like that idea. Because they would search his car. And then he comes out after being with them and his car's all messed up and he realizes that, yeah, exactly, that he brought it to their door.
He can't be with her. Yeah. So what if maybe they already had a plan to reconnect because then he'll feel compelled to go? Like, what if the little girl has like a ballet show and she's like, come. And he's like, when everything's good, he's like, sure. Okay. And then once things go bad, he like doesn't want to go, but he also still feels this pull of like, I promised. So he maybe doesn't show up and meet them the way they had planned to, but he shows up in the middle of the show and just like watches and she sees that he's in the back there.
Okay. So he sees it, but he keeps himself distanced from them.
Right.
And then maybe afterwards the heroine goes to look for him and he's not there anymore.
Ooh, it would be helpful. This little girl is already with all of her little ballerina friends and they're just like happy that they just did this performance. And what if she's like, oh, is it okay if I have a sleepover with my friend? And she's like, okay, I'm gonna get their number. I'll do all of that, whatever. And so therefore she sends her off. And so now the heroine is child free for the night and free to confront the hero and be like, why are you being like this?
Yes. Oh yeah, that's good. So we have to be creative about getting rid of the kid. So, so the kid's at a sleepover. So she's good to go. And then the heroine goes after him. Does she just go back to his hotel room? Or does she find him
just
like
he already did that? And I was like, plus it didn't convince her, right? Like this, he knows this. Doing the rough sex in the hotel did not convince her he's a bad guy.
Right.
So what if he actually gets a call on his phone of like, come fix this terrible thing? And he's like, all right, come along. And he like shows her the seedy type of life that he has to live.
Yes. So when she finds him, they get into an argument about it again. And then he gets the call. And then she's like, okay, fine. Or maybe he just makes her go. Doesn't give her the option. Just makes her go. And then she witnesses it firsthand. And then she's still, I don't know, like, yeah, I get that you're this horrible guy on the outside, but. Or she gets really spooked. And she's like, you're right. You shouldn't be in her life.
Yeah. I do like that just because it's increasing the tension as we get like up to the dark moment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she even thinks to herself, you know what? Maybe I believe in him so much because I want to, for my own personal reasons, because I'm attracted to him. But is it really what's best for a child? Like this uncertainty of this guy who may or may not get his life, back into a positive place.
Right.
So she's like, all right, I agree. Like she shouldn't be with you. And she just goes home and like recommits to being the best foster mom that she can be.
Right.
And then what if separately he then gets a photo of the girls, the heroine and the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like hand over the tape or whatever it is they want.
Right. So now they're really in danger. He has to. Yeah. He can't just walk away now. It's too late.
It probably doesn't work for it to be like that tape just because then he'd really be doing something good anyway if he releases it.
Right. Yeah.
It could be an unrelated task. Like just now, it could be like that this big senator is like gearing up for presidential run, and he has a lot of skeletons in his closet. So maybe that was just one of them.
Right. And they're just trying to tie up all loose ends, get everything cleaned up everywhere.
Yeah. And this was like both his biggest financial like job and power move, but also the kind of like quote the worst thing he's ever done. You know what I mean? Like this guy is so oily that he's like, I shouldn't be helping him, you know?
Right. So she's made a decision, forget it. You're right. You stay there. I'm gonna stay over here and we're separate. This isn't gonna happen. And then this happens where now they're in danger. So she's not gonna just like, if he goes to her and is like, okay, well, you're in danger, I need to help you. And she's not gonna be like, yeah, okay, whatever you say, you know? So what if he goes and gets them? So this would have to be after the kid's back from the sleepover and everything. And I want him to give up being a fixer so that he can
what I was thinking?
family.
Yes. And you know what I was thinking? I was like, what? Because we were like, who is threatening him right now? I'm like, what do they want? I was like, what if it is, okay, so there's the senator, he's gearing up for a run, he's done a couple of bad things, and he knows this is the best fixer, right? Like he's costing an arm and a leg, but it's going to be worth it because he's going to be the best fixer. So he has him doing it. And sure enough, he's actually succeeding, which is why he originally got on her radar. You know, like these scandals are just sort of disappearing. People are changing their minds, you know, whatever. And then what if at some point in his interactions with the heroine and his daughter, he actually decides, maybe he doesn't decide I'm going to not be a fixer, but maybe he decides I'm not going to help this guy. That's actually too far. You know what I mean? Like I was uncomfortable with it and now I'm done. And so he puts him off and it's just like, I did this much work, you know, you can have like some of your money back, whatever, but like, I'm done working for you.
Right.
And that's like the sort of like step one of being a parent, you know what I mean? Of like realizing that he wants to make the world a better place.
Yes.
And what if that guy, already being sort of a creepy, oily senator guy with power dreams, is like, you don't quit on me. Look, I have this photo of
right
people you care about.
Right. You can't just walk away. This isn't something you get to just walk away from.
Yeah. Like we're going to go all the way. We're going to be like a dynasty, but you don't get to leave.
Right.
All right. So how does he fix it?
Right. Exactly. And how does he get out of that? Because
I mean, the good thing is he has a lot of favors. He has a lot of resources because that's part of how he operates.
Right.
He also has money, but he can't just whisk them away using his money because she needs to actually just like go to school and live a life.
And if she is in the foster system, there's some record of her somewhere, right? It's not going to be that easy.
I mean, I have faith in his fixing abilities, but
yeah, I mean, there needs to be a limit, but so he can't take them away. And how powerful is this person? Like if he were to just go against him instead, like, okay, I was just going to walk away, but now if you keep pursuing this, now I'm going to become your nightmare.
Yeah, that's what he has to do. I think he has to expose him all the way.
Yeah. To protect himself and
to protect her.
To protect them. Yes. Like I was going to walk, but if you want to play this game, let's do it.
Yeah. I think a combo of him like completely exposed, like he digs in, calls in every favor he has to get like all the real dirt on this guy and exposes it, maybe even like gives it to her. No, he won't give it to her because he doesn't want to get her near it. He'll expose it his way using like regular news outlets.
Right.
I just wonder, like, how is he going to keep them safe while this is happening, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because, well, because he also doesn't want to scare the little girl.
Yeah.
And if she gets whisked away to some safe house somewhere, that's going to be a little traumatizing.
Yes.
Especially since she's just starting to get a normal life.
Right. Exactly.
Like that's not. So he's got to keep them safe while he is. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like he has to. And it's not just a matter of him staying with them because he's got to go do things. Like, so he can't always have someone.
What if it's a little bit mafia guy where they've been so busy covering up his like pseudo legal activities? You know what I mean? Questionable, more scandalous than illegal
activities.
That he's found this sort of like tax thing that he's been violating, and he goes to jail for that.
The bad guy, the other guy.
Yeah.
Because then he's out of the way. So
Yeah.
they're saying he's out of the way.
And basically, like, if you give him enough real problems, he's not going to be coming after you.
Right. Because he's busy with all that. I like that. He has to be tied up with something else to like they're small potatoes.
Yes. Ooh, yes. Like, what if he either gets him in trouble with, oh, that's so much better. I was thinking he would like find a way to get him in trouble with the US government, one way or the other, whether it's for more criminal stuff or more like white collar crimes. But what if it's, like you said, like, what if has a deal with this, like, either like a drug dealer or an arms dealer or some like foreign head of state who's corrupt, just a super bad guy, right? Like super villain. And maybe he has him on tape being like, yeah, we'll do what he says, or we won't. Like, we're just navigating this for our own benefit. And when that guy turns on him, so maybe that's what he does. It's not exposing him to the public. It's just exposing him to this one super villain who crushes him like a bug.
Yes, I like that. Because that solves all those other little problems.
Yeah. And as a bonus, you get a super villain for your future book.
Yes. Yeah, because he can't get away without having.
Exactly. Or even the next hero sometimes.
Right. Yeah. No, I like that. So, okay. So he takes care of them that way. And now, is she aware that he's done that? Does he tell her?
I think she's going to have to be made aware via text, the way that they were texting before.
Okay.
I mean, I think she would have to know because, like, I think he still would have like security on her and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Someone watching just to make sure while he's dealing with all this.
Yeah. And he could be like, they're done. Problem is solved.
Right.
And she could just read about like his surprise heart attack on the news and be like, what happened there? I probably don't want to know, but I guess it would be like reinforcing that that he is a bad guy, even if he wasn't the one who did it.
Right.
But in a way he was, right?
His badness to protect them.
Right. He did it to protect them.
Right.
And so I think what's nice about that is when you have a heroine who like has been seeing the world in black and white, for her to see, oh gosh, like here's this gray area that he's been living in all this time. And now it kind of makes sense to me.
Right. Yeah. And now she's in the gray area with him because she knows he's somehow behind it all. He's not
and doesn't mind, like, you know, maybe she could give him a hard time for like pulling strings in the system. But by this time she's close to the daughter. She's not going to think, oh, she'd be better off in some random anonymous house, you know?
Right. I think at this point she wants to keep the girl. She wants to, they've formed enough of a bond that she's like, I can see this being a real family here.
I feel like he would still, so now even in this sort of like denouement style of the dark moment has passed, the biggest bad guy has been taken down. Well, he's not the biggest, but you know, their bad guy has been taken down. I think he would not go to them. He would stalk them because he still doesn't feel worthy.
Yes. I kind of want her to go to him.
Exactly.
And being like, well, why haven't you come back? Like, where have you been? And then he can go back to his regular spiel. Like, I mean, look what happened. Look what this, and then she can say, yes, and you protected us. You will always protect us because that's what families do. They protect each other. And then, like it or not, we're a family.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe that kind of bursts his bubble of that lie of I can't have one because no, you do. You have one now.
Exactly. I like that. Like he's like, I don't deserve a family, and she's just like, you have one already.
Yeah, too late. Yeah, and then they have to sort out the whole kid thing, telling her that he's her real dad. And
I don't know if they would do it right away though, just because. I mean, she still didn't grow up with him. You know what I mean? He's still a figure that she has to get to know.
Yeah.
But I think it could be too. I like the idea of them being together in a way where the father would have assumed, I have to know all of these things about little girls and about babies if I want to have a child. And I don't, because I mean, most guys don't, right, to start with. And he knows like even less than average because he never thought he'd have a family. And it could be that the daughter sort of takes to him, you know what I mean? And she's like, I'll show you this, I'll show you that, you know, and like, and he just has to sit there and be like, yes, I do like that. Yes, yes, that is a cute puppy. Like, you know, and he's like, oh my God, this is, I don't want to say easy in like a flippant way, but like it is joyous in a way that he would never have imagined.
Right. Yeah. And totally brand new for him and unexpected. And
yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of being a fixer, I feel like he's either done being a fixer or he does that thing where, you know, like you just are like an ethical fixer, like a kind of thing. Like,
is there such a thing? Like,
well, I feel like it reminds me of, what is that book? Things We Left Behind, maybe, by Lucy Score. The hero is this like super rich guy and the heroine is always giving him trouble for like being a heartless corporation or whatever. And at one of the times, this is like a small town romance, so it's kind of like lighter, but she goes to his office and he's meeting with this like, I think person of color, like woman who's running for Senate because like she actually cares and he's like going to help her campaign.
Okay.
You know, because he knows how to do that basically.
Right.
And so he can do that for good.
Like crisis manager. Is that what they call those people? Like,
or
whatever.
It's just like campaign manager. You know what I mean? Like, you know how people's minds work. And, or if not, no, I wouldn't say manager because that's like a whole life, but like consultant. And he's like on tap for, I think in his mind, like it's all spin. You know what I mean? It's good and bad. It's just spin.
Right.
And
he just nicely now.
Yeah.
Nicer of the bad people.
Yeah.
The not so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he wants to make the world a good place now because his daughter has to live in it.
Right. Yes. And he wants to be able to look at himself in the mirror now.
Yeah. We did it.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the epilogue?
I don't think they get married. I don't want them to get married in the epilogue because that's maybe he proposes or like he moves in.
Yeah. I also like it's circling back to her making a video about it, about him or about something in their family.
Like yes.
Because that's how he like first found her is like on this TikTok or whatever.
Right. So she makes one of her influencer videos and he's in it. She makes him be in it, like a cameo or something.
Or like he's watching it on his way back home in the car after a day of doing his good work and seeing her.
Yeah, he gets a notification on his phone that user so-and-so has posted a new video and he swipes it open and it's her giving her, I don't know, update. Because maybe she's been.
Yeah, I wonder if she references the original video. Like in that video, I said that people couldn't change or whatever, but that's not true. Like bad people can change. And also I can change and understand more about deeper things. But I feel like there'd need to be some other purpose to the video for it to be like the epilogue. Maybe she makes a reference to like the first time they had sex or something. And he's like, goes home and promises, you know, sexy things, does sexy things. Like it's sort of a flirt across the internet.
Oh, that she's like sending a secret message to him through her video. Okay. And the first time they had sex was angry sex. Oh.
Maybe they did it like on an armchair and maybe she's like sitting on an armchair when she doesn't normally or something. And she's like thinking back to times when someone told me that they were actually a bad person or whatever. And she references that conversation and he knows exactly like what she means because she's like stroking the arm of the chair.
I was just going to say that she's rubbing the arm of the chair, like, you know, like petting it like it's him.
And maybe she does this, like she arranges the daughter to be on a play date. That way she can do this sort of like, it's like waving a red flag in front of a bull, right? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So when he gets home, it's on.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Cute.
Like that. She definitely needs to reference the chair. I like that.
So the last thing is, what is the title?
Oh.
I did say like exposed or exposure, which I still think work.
Right. Oh, I'm horrible at titles. It's like the very last thing I ever do is like I put it off way to the end. Exposed hearts or exposed truths or
What's funny is I usually write the titles before I write the books.
oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't I can't do anything right before. The less I know, the better when it comes to me starting a story. Exposed with truth, exposed lies.
I like exposed hearts. I think that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that works.
Okay.
Or fixed hearts.
That sounds like, without knowing fixer, it sounds too like sweet
Yeah, I think you're right.
because they're more broken.
They are.
You could do something like the fixer and the whatever, but I think exposed hearts is probably the way we would go.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay. And so the last question is, if readers enjoyed hearing exposed hearts, what book of yours should they start with?
Oh. Probably Taken by Him.
Okay.
It's one of my first of a really big world of mafia stories. That one's a forced marriage where, yeah, it's a forced marriage. It's a Polish mafia.
Mm.
And her father basically sells her off to another family, and she has to expose. She finds out things in her father's past that she didn't know. Like, she knew he wasn't a great guy, but she has to go through, and her father tries to pin her against her now husband with, get me the dirt on him kind of situation. But she's not sure either one of them is a good guy. But yeah, so I guess I would start there.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. Okay, so we're going to put the link to that in the show notes so that you guys can go check it out. And thank you so much, Measha, for telling a story with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Storytime with Skye. I hope you enjoyed the story we crafted this week. Please subscribe so you don't miss a new episode, and leave a review so that other listeners can find our show. We always put links for any books we discuss, as well as books by the guest author, in the show notes, so you can definitely find something new to read. And if you want to help choose our romance adventure, be sure to join our Facebook group, Storytime with Skye. That's where we gather suggestions and poll our readers, just like you, to find out what our next story will be. Thank you for being part of the story.
Welcome to the story. It's story time with Skye.